Protesters gathered near the Capitol chanting, "Free, Free Palestine."
Fires burning in California, Oregon, Arizona, Washington, and other western states, as well as in Canada, have filled skies in parts of the western U.S. with smoke and haze, prompting some areas to declare air quality alerts or advisories. The gunman in the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump reportedly conducted a Google search 1 week before the incident, asking, "How far away was Oswald from Kennedy?" According to FBI Director Christopher Wray,
this detail reveals a suspect with a keen interest in public figures.
North Korea sent another wave of trash-filled balloons into South Korea.
This time, some of the debris landed on the grounds of the South Korean presidential compound in Seoul and a nearby U.S. military base, seemingly disrupting operations.
The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host or guest and should not be interpreted as statement of fact.
Interpret them however you want.
Checking and corrections are
encouraged. That's what I'm saying.
Can we get a cup of coffee in here, please?
I don't know what that is. Oh, I got to do that. Sorry, folks.
Damn good coffee. And hot.
Yup. Oh, look, it's me wearing a...
My dog is your mind's best friend.
Shirt.
Wake up, America. You've got a dog that needs walking. That's right, sunshine. Just put on a big pot of strong coffee and get ready to type your little hate mail with your opinions about kumbaya and flat earth insanity. Stand-up comedy? You want stand-up comedy? Well, we've got sit-down comedy. It's time for Coffee with the Dog. You make me laugh.
Oh, you make me laugh. You know what? All right, fine. I make you laugh. Do my best. It's not very good, but it is my best. In Rod Sterling. Oh, good morning, folks. Everybody out there in Earthland, and especially those who are on the West Coast or flying to the West Coast this morning, up in the air. And I'm talking about TD Jakes, our usual coffee guy. You know, good morning, America, that guy. He's in flight and not going to be with us this morning. And I know, hold on, before you celebrate, there are other things that in the news. Today is Friday, July 26th, 2024. Beautiful summer day. The Rockin' 45s will be at Catch, Venetian Shores, Lindenhurst, tonight, starting 6 p.m. Get there. Free parking. When the parking lot is overfull, you can just park in the neighborhood, drive the neighbors crazy, and walk. Bring coolers and all that kind of stuff. And you don't even have to worry about the crazy prices for stuff like $97 hamburger or a $105 pina colada, which you got to wear a shirt like this if you're going to drink a pina colada. Yesterday, I had probably the most, one of the weirdest, top 10, top 5, top 3 weirdest experiences of my life. I was playing a 2-hour strolling music in a rehabilitation facility where some people are not getting rehabilitated, by the way. They are dying. That's a whole other story. Oh, look, the Mind Dog sign's out. I could have sworn I turned it on. Anyway, so I... Basically, when I go to these things, there's sometimes a recreational aide that will walk through there with me as I go to play in different rooms. Because some people, Some people are not up for live music. Some people can't handle it. Whatever. But there wasn't any. I got there a little bit early, and the lunch receptionist was there, and she didn't know what to do. She handed me a clipboard with names of people that I was supposed to visit. And I did not bring my glasses in. I left my glasses in the car. And the names were really small. So I'm squinting at the thing. It's a 3-story building, and I'm going through hundreds of names, going room by room. Some people are not in their rooms. I get to one lady's room, and it's about halfway down the list now. I'm like an hour into this thing. And this lady is catatonic, really laying on a pillow, just looking up, and I'm talking to her, and she can't answer, and I'll just see her eyes, and it's like almost looking deep into her mind, and asking her if she wants some music. She can't answer, so I played her a little song anyway, and at the end, this woman who really can't respond in any way started to smile, and wow, I did something good. I reached somebody. My very next room after that, I'm going down the list on the clipboard and squinting as best I can to see the name. And I see Napo Matthew. Wait a minute. I could swear that's my name. And it was almost as if Rod Serling popped into my head. Meet Matt Napo, a man who is about to step into a portal in time and space. So I went into the room. And I said, Matthew Napo? He said, Matt. Oh, yeah, I go by Matt Napo too. And I looked at this guy, and he looked, I'm not kidding, like exactly like me, except with a white mustache. Same glasses, and I wasn't wearing my glasses, but he was wearing these glasses. Big old white mustache. And I said, I'm Matt Napo. He said, I'm Matt Napo. And I said, he goes, you look like me. I was like, no, you look like me. And here's Rod Serling again. Like, I'm about to become a song and dance man in a nursing home in a place called the Twilight Zone. Whoa. So we got to talking a little bit. He said, well, where are you from? And I said, basically where I grew up. He said, well, where's your family from? I said, Brooklyn, New York, East New York, Brooklyn. He said, I'm from Staten Island. He goes, wait a minute. East New York, you're from Chestnut Street. And that's where my family is from, Pitkin Avenue, Chestnut Street. He said, my father had a cousin, Louis, and his sister, Angelina, that lived over there. And I said, that's my Uncle Hop, Uncle Louis. My Uncle Hop, called him Uncle Hop because he had one leg. Whole other story. And my Aunt Julie. But my father was brother to Louis. So my father is your father's cousin. Holy crap. It's just an incredible thing, because I didn't even know my father had cousins on Staten Island at all. As far as I knew, my father's father didn't have any other relatives here. So this was a revelation to me. And so he asked me, we talked a little bit. I asked him what music he wanted to hear. He was a big Bobby Darin fan. So it just so happens I know a couple of Bobby Darin songs. I played Beyond the Sea, and he teared up and he was like, that's my second favorite song. My favorite is Mac the Knife. I played him Mac the Knife, and he got like really, really emotional. And then he shared with me that he's had stage 4 cancer. He should be in stage 4 lung cancer. He should be in hospice. They've expected him to be dead a year ago. And I was like, wow. He goes, can you do me a favor, cuz? What? He said, can you get me a pack of cigarettes? Now, this is a guy with stage 4 cancer. He's like, I would really like to do that for you. But if I got caught doing that for you, I'd probably get arrested. I wouldn't just lose this gig. I'd probably get arrested. He goes, I'm dying. What difference does it make? I feel you. I get it. But I can't do it. So he was kind of mad at me when I left, like upset with me. But I talked to my brother about it. He said, you know what? I'll mail him to him. Well, I'm not sure he's going to be around, but we will we will see about doing that. Anyway, GD, as I mentioned, is not with us today. And when I say not with us, he's still living, I think, but he's on a plane heading to Seattle, where he's going to get on a cruise ship to go to Alaska, and then probably won't be with us anymore. Anyway, so we have the fabulous Steven Sitcom Ortiz, Ron Kane. We have one guest, Aaron Bullitt, wrote to me yesterday that he had to cancel or reschedule today. He's got a family emergency. I think he probably had to take somebody to the emergency room. But we have George Kinder here, and George is a very unusual guest for this program. So we will see what's going to happen in a moment. I think you're going to like this guest. I think I'm going to like this guest more than you will, because he talks about some things that I am really interested in talking about. Anyway, before we get into that, it's time to get high.
With humble East Coast beginnings in 2015, Daily High Club is the premier destination for glass water pipes, vaporizers, and consumption accessories. If you're looking to elevate your smoking game to the next level, you're in the right place. With over 1 million top-quality smoking products sold, and with a growing base of over 10,000 monthly subscribers worldwide, we deliver the ultimate smoking experience. But Daily High Club is not just a retailer, we're lovers of the smoking scene ourselves, working with giants like Tommy Chong, Snoop Dogg, Chanel West Coast, and more. Ready to join the Daily High Club? Let our experts curate your collection with our awesome El Primo monthly subscription box, or grab one of our fun and unique pieces from our smoke shop. Click the link in the description below this video to get this party started now.
Get this party started now. No. Hey,
Do it now.
Ron is the new boss here. Look like that. Ladies and gentlemen, Steven Ortiz has got the ceremonial first pitch. No?
Good morning, America. Are you running into
lame is
yourself
that?
from the future and not even able to realize it? Well, don't let time get away from you that crazy. Go to minddogtv.com and get your merch today.
Well, thank you for that.
That's all I have. That's the best I could do.
No, that's fine. That's fine. You could have done it in blackface. It would have been a little better.
I thought about it, but my wife wouldn't tell me where her makeup was. So,
well, you could have used shoe polish. Shoe polish is over.
I don't own shoes that need shoe polish. I'm not 60.
When you say looking at myself in the future, this is my concern. There's a lot of ways to die, and I don't like any of them. But stage 4 lung cancer, being in a facility with nobody and dying for a cigarette that nobody will get me, it's not the way I want to go. I'm not going to want a cigarette, but I would probably want some weed. I could see myself asking me for a weed. Just a very surreal experience. I mean, like, wow, I'm looking at me. His name is Me. And I didn't know he existed. So I'm going to have to visit him periodically before he goes. Because, now that I know he's there, I gotta drop in. My brother said I should sneak him in a pack of cigarettes. You know what? I don't have a problem. Mess. Well, yeah, but he's gonna die. I totally get where he's coming from. I mean, he might as well be happy, coughing up the half a lung he's got left or whatever. He might as well be happy in his last moments. So I don't see why they won't let him go out in the courtyard and have a cigarette. I just don't. But I would probably end up in jail if I tried to do that, if I got caught doing it. But my brother said, mail it to him just send him mail. They're not allowed to go through his mail, right?
Don't email him a picture of cigarettes. That'll just piss him off. Do you miss these? It's just a picture of Marble Red.
I don't think he's got email. I didn't see any laptop or anything in the room, so I don't think he's got any of that. I didn't see a cell phone even. But just a really weird thing.
Yeah, that'd be a weird experience for sure. Yeah, right. And that'd definitely be not a way to die. That's the reason I'm scared of bridges over water.
Well, how do you want to die?
fast and painless, either in my sleep or just like a gunshot wound to the head, just something quick and done.
I think that's painful. I'm not sure.
I mean, it might hurt for a second, but I mean,
I haven't heard from anybody who's got shot in the head. They haven't told me about the pain,
me neither. But like, for example, like bridges over water, it's a real serious fear to the point where I have panic attacks because if I don't die on impact, the last thing I want to deal with is drowning.
Well, let me tell you, you're not going to want to visit my area because everything is bridges over water. Everything.
Dude,
I mean,
I've learned to tolerate it so I can drive over them because there's times I have to drive and can't help it, but it's bad, man.
Yeah, my wife is the same way. She's not a big fan of bridges either.
But let me. Is it bridges over water only? Because land, I think if you're gonna fall, you'd rather fall on water. No.
No, because I feel like from most of those heights, it's no different than hitting concrete anyway. Except this time, if you don't die on impact, you now have to just drown, and that sounds terrifying. Because I feel like most bridges, if it collapses, I'm either gonna die on impact or something's gonna land on me. Cool, great, done. But
we'll revisit this conversation in hour 2 because my very first television show, very first episode of my first television show was entitled "Death and Dying," and it was all about the process of death and dying, how we die, and I was asking people how they would like to die, and one guy told me that hypothermia, I mean freezing to death, was the best way to go. He said there were scientific studies that said you experience euphoria before you go, and that was the best way to die. Now I don't know.
I've heard that you get warm and you feel euphoria and all of that before you go, but the time up to that sounds horrible.
Yeah, exactly. Being cold, it's enjoy the suffering, suffer. You feel elated, now die. That doesn't sound like
that sounds horrible. That's not backwards.
Basically, birth and death are horrible. Everything in between we like to think we're suffering, but the suffering really is at the ends, the beginning and the end of life.
Well, if it wasn't for that bitch Eve having to go eat fruit and make deals with the devil.
Right. And people talk about dying in your sleep. I'm not sure that's not terrible too. I mean, basically you're having nightmares, I would think, and then, in your sleep, and then I don't know. Who knows?
See, I have a similar issue. Nobody who's died in their sleep has ever told me how it went. So
right.
It's like that Norm Donald. It's like Norm's joke. Yeah, he had a heart attack. His heart attacked him.
Yes, you gotta love Norm.
Always and forever.
George Kinder is our first guest. George is known as the father of life planning. Now, it's a weird guy, but I say that as a compliment. This is what I really like about this guy is when he's a financial planner. I mean, his background is in teaching people how to plan for retirement and financial planning and all that kind of stuff. But he has expanded that into mindfulness, kind of living in the moment philosophy. And that's a very, again, I'm going to use the word weird, mix. You don't see a lot of financial planners getting into mindfulness, meditation. It's almost like a spirituality. And he talks a little bit in one of his talks about being free and freedom, and that's what it's all about. And you know what? For a lot of us, freedom comes, and you hear about financial freedom and all that kind of stuff. For a lot of us, our freedom is based on our economic status. So it's going to be a very interesting talk. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome in the father of life planning, George Kinder. Good morning, George.
Hey there. How are you?
In the moment, I'm very good. So thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm doing good. And
right.
Thanks for the pitch about the moment. It's the only place we ever are, right? I mean, where else have you been? Have you ever experienced freedom in the past?
I've heard your talk, and I would count it. I would say yes, I have. I really have. But I left it in the past, and now I'm waiting for it to happen in the present.
It's a trick question. I ask audiences, big audiences. I get everybody to raise their hand, and I say it's a trick question. We've never experienced freedom in the past. The only time we've ever experienced it is in the present moment. But that's, I know you guys are.
Explain that to me. Do we not? I mean, past is a memory. I get it, but we do. It's not like our past doesn't exist.
No, it's not like it doesn't exist, but it's a secondary order of existence to the present moment. I mean, none of us live in the past. I mean, if we do, we're in bad shape, really.
But
yeah,
I hate to be a contrarian, and I'm not doing this on purpose to be a contrarian. If I want to go back in my memories and relive that moment, I can connect with that feeling of freedom, remembering some of the things that did to get myself there.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm with you, and it's a great thing to do. But you're doing it in the present moment when you're doing it.
That's true. That's true.
One situation you can be trapped in the past. One moment.
Yeah,
I thought one moment you could be trapped in the past. Okay, let's say you crap your pants and you're driving home. Okay, you crapped your pants 15 minutes ago, but you're still trapped in it all the way home and until you're in the house. Does that count?
Well, that's a whole different perspective.
I mean, that's the crazy thing about it. I'm with you.
I was just wondering because that's the only thing that popped into my head. That I feel like I'm stuck in a thing I did 15 minutes ago. So
George, I experienced this whole that message a couple of years ago. My latest album is called Living in the Moment, and every song on there is thematically about we want to live in the past or the future all the time, and I think that leads to a lot of anxiety or regret and all that kind of stuff. I'm with you on this, being in the present and experiencing it in the present. I definitely am. I don't mean to be a contrarian. I just sound like one.
No, I love it. I love the title of your album. Good on you. Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you get from planning retirement and planning finances into this field of mindfulness?
Well, and you mentioned in the introduction freedom as well. I think the thing that always meant the most to me was personal freedom, was my own freedom, and I think we feel that, obviously we feel that in society. We see that demand for freedom, that love of freedom, that passion for freedom everywhere we go, all over the world. People want it. It's a question of how do they get there and all that. So living in the moment, I mean, one of the things, what happened with finances, the reason I got into financial planning, that's the real question. How did that happen? Because because I wanted to live more in the moment, and I wanted to do more creative stuff, and like you, to make albums and that kind of thing. But I was constrained to make a living, and I was good at money, good at finance, good at numbers. So that's what I did. But as in doing it, it made me realize, hey, I can use this technology of finance to figure out how to live the life I want to live. And so that I actually made a career then, as you know, out of helping other people to design who it is they really wanted to be, how it is they really want to live, what was freedom to them, and let's make it happen. And it's not the Rolls Royce, man. It's not, it's, when you ask deep questions about what freedom actually means to somebody, it's more about relationship. It's about being in nature. It's about having, I don't know. It's different for everybody. It could be skydiving.
Yeah.
Well,
again, you're coming back to this freedom thing. I think that if you experience that, that's where you want to be. And I kind of, when you think about financial planning, we think about, or planning for a retirement, that's planning for the future. It's not planning for right now. And I've always, and for me, and this is kind of I don't really know how to express this correctly, but for me, if I am living in the future and trying to plan for the future, I can't be free in this moment because I'm always concentrating on where will I be tomorrow. Tomorrow's not promised to me. I got to live for right now. And that's where I feel free, is whenever I can let go of tomorrow or even an hour from now and just be here right now. That's where I can feel free. but it's a weird thing now. It's like trapped in circular reasoning. I'm planning for the moment where I can be free later. Right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we all feel that. I mean, you're right on. And it's one of the reasons that I wrote this book called The Three Domains of Freedom, because without the present moment being part of it, and the reason I teach mindfulness is because mindfulness is about the mastery of the present moment. That's really what it's all about. But without the present moment being part of our understanding of what freedom is, we don't get it. But at the same time, yeah, aren't you, kind of, imagining what if you had all the money you needed or whatever, what your life would be like, and maybe that feels like that could be freedom as well. So I think there are three ways that we approach it in a way that is really healthy for us. One is
well, I'm at the point where I only think about what life would be like if I had tons of money. When I'm faced with a bill like I'm going to struggle with. That's the only and I'm not thinking that far into the future. I'm thinking, well, this is due next month. Yeah. Where's that money coming from? I truly am like I'm kind of a holdover from a 60s hippie, even though I don't have the long hair. I have a gig today. That's as far in the future as I'm really looking right now. And I know during the 4 hours that I'm going to be performing, that's going to be my bliss. And that's what I look forward to. Cool. And I truly, because I've experienced so much death in my life and sudden death. Yeah. I just had an experience yesterday. Somebody I know he was at a party a week ago, and then he fell off the stairs and went into cardiac arrest and died suddenly. And so that's always like, tomorrow's not. Forget about tomorrow. It's not a promise. It's not even a good bet. Never mind a promise. So for me, I definitely don't live too far into the future ever. It's like I don't assume anything. Yeah. And before you were on the program this morning, I talked a little bit about yesterday's experience where I met a guy with my name. I was playing a nursing home, a rehabilitation center. A guy with my name who was got stage 4 cancer. He turned out to be a distant second cousin I never knew, but he looked exactly like me, 20 years older than me, and is like looking into the future. It was a very Rod Serling moment. But Stephen mentioned, well, you get a chance to look at yourself in the future. It's like, that's not the future I want. The only future I'm really looking forward to, again, is today playing in the band. So yeah. So now, do you still teach financial planning along with the mindfulness stuff?
Yeah, I do. I've actually taught thousands of advisors in 30 countries. Basically, what I teach them is how to not so much, we think of financial advisors as selling product. And what I do is I say, no, look, it's about delivering your clients into their dream of freedom, whatever it is. And they can be poor, they can be wealthy, they can be obsessed with this or that. But the question is, what would be the best life for them? And that's where you want to aim. So I train advisors to have conversations with their clients so that they then can apply financial spreadsheets and planning to deliver them into that dream of freedom. And they do it. I mean, it's not magic, it's not something that's pie in the sky. They do it. They deliver people into what it is they want to do. So, if I were working with you, man, I'd be, how do I get those 4 hours, and having you feel like you're really alive in it and just secure it, make sure it's there all the time, in some way. Yeah.
Well, I spent time working with financial advisors. I ran a website for a couple called Private Equity Profits. I worked for a marketing company that took financial advisors, helped them write books so that they could use that as an authority piece. And so I know a lot of financial advisors and these people. I can't imagine any of those people, if I think about it now, I can't imagine one of them being open to the ideas like meditation, daily meditation. It sounds like it sounds so counter the analytical mind toward and the spiritual or whatever introspective mind. Just they seem to clash in my view. Do you
It's so the people who come to your workshop seminars and where you and your talks, they have to kind of, I don't know, leave their world behind, leave the world they're used to behind before even listening to it or being receptive to what you say. Yes or no?
Well, I think that word listening is the right word. The people that I work with are really interested in their clients. And that interest is a kind of listening rather than selling products, rather than just being out with the numbers and the spreadsheets. They want to hear their clients. They want to be there with the clients. They want to be there for their clients. And what mindfulness does, mindfulness is actually a working with emotional intelligence, so that the more that you're present, the more that you're capable of being here, the less all those neuroses we've been talking about, attached to that drive home that Stephen was talking about, the less that you're clinging to those kinds of things, right? And so they're already interested in listening. And all that mindfulness is a practice of inner listening that's kind of clearing the deck so you can listen even better to the person that you're with. It's pretty cool.
Wow. My friend Erica Rhodes was on Stephen Colbert last night. And she talks about her generation growing up with this idea of confidence, but confidence was based on doing something first. She says Gen Z, the current generation, is thinking more in terms of, no, you got to believe in yourself, and then maybe you'll do something later, or maybe not. And so that whole shift of basically not doing anything, but just faking confidence about it, that's a whole different mindset change. We talk about, with these financial advisors, they always talk about generational wealth. That's not really about freedom. That's about worrying about somebody else. And I understand that can give you peace of mind knowing your family's going to be okay, but that's not about expressing freedom or looking for freedom, right?
Absolutely. That in fact, that they're playing their own game, not really serving their clients. And there's a whole movement called fiduciary, and that's part of what I believe in. And fiduciary puts the client first. And if you put the client first, you got to listen and find out, what does the client really want? What do they really want? And it's not about saying, hey, do you want generational growth? Do you want this money for your kids? It's about listening and hearing who it is they want to be, what they want for their kids. And moreover, one of the problems with all this and with the guys you were working with, the people you were working with, is that we're talking about super wealth. I mean, everybody deserves to live the life that they want to live. Everybody deserves to live in freedom. That's how I train people around money, is to work with everybody. First, find out what the dream of freedom is, and then figure out, well, what's the economics of it? Is it a budget thing? Is it an investing thing? Is it a saving thing? Is it paying off debt? What is it? But first of all, get the dream right. Let's aim for the right goal.
Right. And that's an individual thing, and everybody has the right to kind of aspire to what they want to do. And if you want your children or grandchildren to be born rich, I guess you have that right. But as my personal belief, I think you're not doing them any service. I mean, the happiest rich people I've ever met are the self-made people who got rich doing it on their own. People who generally come into it too easy, and this sounds like a curmudgeonly old, but if you come into it too easy, you're not likely to appreciate it much. And I don't know. So do young people come to your talks and workshops? And
we have very young and very old. And the thing that is one of the things that's distinguishing what we're talking about here is we ask very serious questions. You were talking about life and death a minute ago before I came on, and man, we ask those kinds of questions. It's like mostly we're listening, but if you come to your last moment, and the question is, did you get to do what you wanted to do? Did you get to be the person you want to be? And we lead to that kind of question, so that people are actually seriously reflecting on, what do they want their life to be? And that's not about, the cars, the generational plans, the estate plans, that's really, how do you want to live? And did you get to do it?
I've been asking those questions for 45 years, and I have no friends because of it. One of the questions I used to ask, and this is a cliche thing, is like, if you knew today was your last day,
Yeah.
what last thing would you want to do? What thing that you haven't done would you want to do today? And why haven't you done it? And what's stopping you from doing it in this moment? People don't like the people I've encountered. I shouldn't say I have no friends, but the people I have encountered are very put off by you asking them to have those thoughts. Like, that's a scary place to go, because that means I'm responsible for my life. How dare you put that on me now? I have to think about what it is I want to be and who I want to be, and I have to do something about it. I'd rather just kind of just read a book that tells me there's a simple solution outside of myself. My experiences that turns a lot of people off. I'm glad you have created a life for yourself where people come to hear you say that, because when I put those kind of questions out there, people run away in fear.
Well, we got a lot of people have had that experience, and the problem is the framing of them. And are they coming to you to actually make their life a better life? Is that their purpose in coming to you? Are they coming? Yeah. If they're coming for finances, are they coming really thinking about how they're going to use those finances to be the best they can be? And that's the advantage of having the frame. They're coming in for financial planning. What's that about? Is the ladder on the right wall?
What a bait and switch that is. I'm coming in for financial planning. No, because it's a lot of this is like, I don't know if you would agree with this, but it feels like a spiritual thing, and maybe not in the sense of religious spiritual, but personal spiritual. Like, who am I? And it feels like that. And when I talk to people who are, because when I brought up Erica, she was talking, we have a generation now of life coaches, mindfulness coaches, and all these things. But you are able to define mindfulness. A lot of people, they just cling on to these new age law of attraction type of catchphrases and define mindfulness in that way. And meditation, all you have to do is meditate and want and think about the future, but not really take any real actions towards creating the life for yourself that you want. And it's really it's not a plan for really helping people improve their lives. It's just making them feel better about themselves in that moment, that in the future I can will this thing into my life without really having to do any work for it.
Right on.
Do you feel like it's a spiritual thing you're on, or?
I think that it's part of life, and we all have, maybe not everybody, but most people have some element to their life that feels spiritual in a way. I think freedom, what is freedom? And I talk about these three domains, and one of them is the present moment, and that feels probably the most spiritual, because it's strange to live just in the present moment, but extraordinary. But then there's your life, the path of your life, and then there's civilization. Shouldn't civilization be bringing freedom to everybody? And isn't it time? We've got so much sophistication and so much ability. Why are things so crazy? And so one of the things I talk about as well is I'm actually at the end of the book, I'm talking about a single sentence legislative proposal that I think would change everything, would bring much greater freedom to all over the world, and solve a lot of the problems, solve the polarization, solve the planetary burning up, deal with a lot of the corruption and all that, money in politics, you name it.
Well, this is I've been saying this so long that it just feels like I don't even have to put any energy into it. It will just come out my mouth. I'm a pessimist, but it sounds like you are a hardcore optimist for the human race and for the human condition. Do I have that correct?
Well, if I was a pessimist, and I can certainly fall in that direction myself, man. But if I were a pessimist, I'd be wondering if we're going to survive the century. And I would see a great unlikelihood that we would, given all that's happening. So I have to fight against that, man. I have to I was trained as an economist for a while in
Right.
college, and so I had to think about how come things are. Why are we driven into pessimism? What's really going on here? And we think that our system, which I think our system has a lot of incredible things to it. Look at, there's four of us on the screen together. Where are we? Where are we? We're from all over the world, and we have electricity, and we can fly places, and we can. I mean, I got white hair. You talk about being in the '60s. I was there, man, and yet most of my ancestors were dead by the time they were my age. But so civilization has produced incredible things. Well, how come we haven't finished the job? How come, at the top, if these 250 years of growth from the Industrial Revolution were the best we could possibly do, and they've certainly been incredible, why is it that we don't have at the top of every hierarchy of power, of government, of corporations, of nonprofit, the best of humanity, their kindness, their compassion, their wisdom? Why? And the answer is, really, you think about it, it's not anywhere in those systems. Why? Because we didn't set it up in legislation. We didn't actually establish a requirement that large institutions, powerful people act in a humane way toward the rest of us.
Well, this is my and not to get too political here, but with because that guy right up above me, if I talk about trickle down economics, it will cause a reaction in him, because I know he's very against it. I believe that trickle down economics is good in theory. The problem with it is in the application of it, because there are no guidelines, no legislations to make sure that the rich people do what take what they benefit from that system and actually put it to use for the good of society. So that's where but in theory, I think trickle down economics should work. The problem is there's no gutter ball protection for that to keep it in lane, no restrictions on greed and all that stuff. But I think, again, it's really hard to legislate morality into people.
Very simple. Actually, very simple, because the main problem that we have is, you've described it with trickle down economics, and your friend, is it Ron, who's against it, or Stephen? But the main problem that we have is that the large institutions, and again, it could be government, it could be corporations, it could be nonprofits, that they can do pretty much whatever they want. They can get all the debt they want. They can get all the capital they want. They can borrow like crazy, and they aren't required. Why would you create a system where very powerful institutions, including billionaires and all the rest, have the freedom to lie to us? What wouldn't you insist, if you're creating institutions? Shouldn't you insist at the base? Wouldn't you expect that every great institution in America and in the world would put the truth ahead of their own self-interest? Shouldn't that be legislated? That's easy to legislate. Shouldn't they put the planet of democracy ahead of their own self-interest? That's easy to legislate. In a single sentence, you can do it.
Well, it's easy to legislate unless the people with the money are buying the legislators.
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? I mean, we know that, right? That's the problem. Yeah. And that's why I'm talking to you. That's why I'm here on the show. That's why I wrote the book. I'm here because
how do you manage not to get drawn into the political sphere with this kind of stuff?
With my white hair, I mean, I'm not as old as those two other guys, but I'm getting there. So my realm is really more envisioning something and building movement. So I'm really, secretly, trying to build a grassroots movement around what's the vision we want, and let's get everybody around that vision, because we want democracy, we want kindness, we want the earth protected, we want we don't want corruption, we want truth, we want to be able to trust the news that we get. So it's all simple. And so the question is there a simple solution? I think there is.
Yeah. Last night I was watching a video. So a guy, Joe, I'm having senior moments. I can't think of Joe's last name, but he's a science guy, and he's a very good science guy. He's not a conspiracy theorist. Yeah. He talked about scientific principles and science history. But this latest video is about acceleration and billionaires who willfully are trying to bring about the end of civilization. And it sounded conspiratorial, but it's based in like a real philosophical principle that some of these billionaires have, where thinking that society is going to break down anyway, it's better to force it to happen faster so that they can rebuild it on their terms. Are you familiar with that? And is it a conspiracy theory, or do you think that's there's anything to that?
I really don't know. I mean, it sounds like it's really possible. And knowing some of the crazy figures that are out there with billions, you could easily imagine it in one of their minds or several of their minds. But I think the issue for me is, and maybe this is the optimism versus the pessimism, the heck with the billionaires. We live in a democracy. Let's make our democracy work. Let's create the vision that we want. And I wrote a book before I wrote this book, The Three Domains of Freedom. I wrote a book called A Golden Civilization, and I went on kind of a world tour. I went to all six. I didn't make it to Antarctica. So if you got somebody in Antarctica, send them my way. But I went to all 6 continents, and I asked people everywhere. I gathered people in groups of anywhere from 30 to 500. If we had if we were there, if we'd arrived, imagine 200 years from now, what would it look like? And what was extraordinary, I went to China. I mean, I went to autocratic countries. I went to democratic countries. I went to rich countries. I went to poor countries. Everywhere I went, people wanted the same thing. They wanted democracy. They wanted an end to untruth. They wanted an end to corruption. They wanted a healthy planet. They wanted reduced inequality. And they wanted to be able to trust their institutions. Everywhere they wanted the same thing. Let's do it. Yeah. It's time. Let's do it.
I should mention the name. Well, you mentioned The Golden Civilization. The other book is Transforming Suffering into Wisdom. I don't know if you're aware of this, but our motto on this program. Oh, that's the newest one. I'm sorry.
I love yeah.
But the transforming suffering into wisdom. Our motto on this program is enjoy the suffering. I think they're kind of aligned in some way.
It is. It's very aligned. It's actually very. I loved it when I saw that, man. I really loved it.
Yeah. But the Golden Civilization, that idea, it doesn't aim to get rid of these organizations, institutions that seem to control our lives. It's to make them more morally or moral and ethical, and behave in a way that we would all like to think is possible in bringing out the good, focusing on the good.
Yeah.
Is that not a little bit Pollyannic?
Well, it's all legislated. It's all doable. If you go back to the beginning of trickle-down economics and you look at the 1980s, and what happened there was we freed a lot of, we thought we were going to free markets. Well, are markets freer? We thought we were, we had Earth Day back in 1970. Is the Earth in a better place than it was then? We passed the Civil Rights Act back in 1964. Are civil rights in a better place than they were then? I don't know about any of these things. Is democracy in a better place? So what happened was that we gave a lot of power away, and we gave it to the billionaires, and we gave it thinking that things would trickle down. And I'm with you. I think it could work if it were set up right. The problem is that we've never required institutions, any kind of institution, to put the truth ahead of their own self-interest, to put democracy ahead of their own self-interest, or to put the planet ahead of their own self-interest, much less humanity. And that's a very simple thing to do. You can do it in a single sentence, which is what I'm proposing.
I agree that it should be, in theory, it should be a simple thing to do. Here's the problem. I mean, you talk about taking care, putting the planet in front of their own self-interest. No, you will have, and I don't know, some of it is fed by self-interest, perpetuating this idea that the science is all wrong. The science of ecology and taking care of the planet. But we have a lot of people who are not tied into that, who just for some reason gravitate towards that message and want to live it, even though they're not the ones who are being benefited by it. They're not the corporations. They're not the big money people who are I'm talking about, the working people who serve the interest of those people who are serving their own self-interest rather than their own. And that's where it becomes a difficult thing. I have a heavy question. I have a really heavy question for. I might not seem like a really heavy question, but good and evil.
Go for
it.
The
forces of good and evil. Do they exist?
Yeah, boy. I don't know. I mean, I think that yes and no. Certainly you can experience it, right? You can experience them both. I look mostly at what is my experience, and what I know is that we've got the suffering that you say, embrace it. One of the things I'm promoting right now is embrace fiduciary. Embrace that if here we are, we're human beings, the four of us, I think, and
those two guys. I don't know.
Yeah, right. I know. I haven't talked to them yet, but the institutions aren't. And if we hand our power over to these abstract organizations, that's pretty dark, man. That's pretty dark.
Yeah.
Whether it's a corporation or a government or a nonprofit, that's pretty dark. Unless they're on our side. And they ain't. I mean, that we didn't ask them to put the truth ahead of their own self-interest. We didn't ask them to put the earth ahead of their own self-interest, or us.
The first movie I ever directed, and you won't probably find this in anywhere online anymore. It's called Fiducia, and it's based on, because the fiducia is the Italian word for trust.
Exactly.
And it's based on this because it's a mob movie, but it's the idea that you think you can trust everybody. You think you can trust when it comes down to them, that trust breaks down. And so where does trust really come from? Sometimes we want to trust people, and that can lead us and put our ultimate trust, complete trust in something. And it's an illusion. So while I'm with you, I think there should be, in a perfect world, trust. But knowing human nature and knowing that good and evil can be part of any of us, any single one of us is capable of conjuring up good and or evil at any moment. And sometimes I feel like we're not in control of it. I know mindfulness is all about being in control of it, though, and I don't know, gravitating towards the good in people. Yeah, but I don't. Again, this is the pessimist in me talking. I don't have a lot of faith.
We need the pessimism right now because there's a lot of darkness out there. And when you're talking about trust, there are people that are trusting dictators because the dictators control the news completely, 100%. And
right.
And so and they can build up a lot of love, a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of everything, but it's based on something that really isn't true. And you talk about trust and what can you trust? I trust you, man. I trust those 4 hours a day. I trust your creating that music, that album. I trust you're living in the present moment. And isn't that what you trust too? And that's where it all begins, is find that place inside of ourselves that we know is true, is trustworthy.
Right.
And then build
I
it.
think we sometimes we think on too much of a macro level instead of really appreciating the moment, because it's hard to appreciate that moment even in a conversation you're having with somebody. People are and I'm looking at the clock right now having this conversation with you, trying to be present with you, and really I love this kind of conversation. I think Ron has fallen asleep up there, but I love this conversation, and I would like it to continue well beyond the news break that we have coming up at the top of the hour. But it's hard to maintain that living in the moment thing when there are external pressures that are always pulling us into the future, right?
Yeah, it is. We go back and forth, and yeah, but really good to be on with you, and I wish I'd gotten to know Ron and Stephen better.
No, you don't. No, you don't. So I'm sorry, you held up the latest book, but I'm on your website now, and is it reflections of the spectacle pond? No, is that it? What is it?
Well, that's another book. I wrote a whole series of books there, and
I'm not seeing the latest book on the website.
I don't know why. It's the 3 Domains of Freedom. I don't know why. I'll have to get on that. Which are you on? GeorgeKinder.com?
Yeah.
I don't know why it's
not
up first, but I'll go talk to my staff first thing, man.
Yell at them. Tell them they got to get in the moment and put the current book on the website. GeorgeKinder.com, folks. The link is in the description. George, thank you for being on the program. I love talking to you, and I would love to have more of this kind of conversation. I hope you'll come back sometime.
Likewise. Love to, man. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Great to meet you.
Have a great day.
Okay, thanks.
Have a great day, sir.
George Kinder, folks. Now, are you guys? Did you guys zone out on that conversation? That's not your thing.
No, honestly, it was super interesting. I was just listening.
And your contribution was crap in the pants. The crap in the pants parable.
Hey, listen. I can't help how my mind works. He said there's no way to be stuck in the past, and my mind immediately came up with a scenario. So.
Well, again, you're not really stuck in the past. You're experiencing that as you go in that moment. That is the present now. The past is already gone, and you're experiencing it in that moment. Not to be contrarian. I am being contrarian both ways. I was pushing back on him. Now I'm pushing back on you. Damien wants to know, you saw your future self. Was he wearing that shirt? No. There is only, I think this
would have been weird, though.
Yeah. That would have been really weird because I wasn't. Maybe that would mean I took the shirt off his back yesterday because it was yesterday, not today. That would mean I took his shirt off his back and brought it home with me so I could wear it on the show today.
He lived the moment, had a Highlander moment, cut his head off. There can only be one.
I'm just saying. Yeah, I probably would have been arrested quicker for stealing a dying man's shirt off his back than getting him a pack of cigarettes.
Well, you're known to steal eyes and throw people off roofs, so I guess stealing a shirt off a dying guy is
that's in the past. Let's live in the moment, please.
I would definitely say one of the reasons I like stand up because it forces you to live in the moment. Like if you want to do good stand up, you have to live in the moment.
Same with being a musician or anybody in the performing arts, because no matter how much you rehearse something, the energy in the moment, you never, if you're in a play, let's say, you don't know that the person isn't gonna flub their lines. You don't know the person you're responding to isn't gonna flub their lines. You don't know how the audience is gonna react. Every moment is different, and you have to really be present in that moment. So yeah, this is what the performing arts is all about. That's part of why I thought this would be this conversation would be really relevant to people who are performers or looking to really understand who they are and who they want to be. But where it gets weird for me is financial planning and all this, because that is the ultimate. Let's look into the future. I want to plan my retirement. And I used to say, it was kind of funny because I don't be, even though I'm not working for a corporation or employed by anybody else, I don't feel like I'm retired. I feel like I'm still working towards what I want to do. And I think just having that mindset, you never want to be retired. You always want to continue working. You just don't want to work for somebody else, making some other fool rich while you're suffering and slaving underneath them without any personal reward or anything like that.
Yep.
So,
hey, Ron.
Yeah.
What's the guy's name in the top picture on the flyer behind you?
Aaron Bell.
Aaron Bell. Okay, I performed with him at the festival here in Fort Wayne.
Okay. Yeah, he's from Philly.
Small world.
Yeah.
Now, is he your second cousin or your father's cousin, or is his father your father's cousin? You look alike. That's all I'm saying. You look just like Ron, as we mentioned before, and he denies this, but he doesn't have any white friends. He has only black friends. He's like the anti-racist or something.
Yeah,
he's like Eminem.
It is really funny when you look at that poster now, and because I don't have my picture on there, so if somebody would see this, they would typically think, well, this is probably a black show because it's 3 black comics and 1 white woman, which is
Comedy at the Apollo.
Yeah, that's typically what a black show is around here. It's all unless the lineup's all black, but usually there's 1 token white person on a show like that.
Yeah. Did you guys don't watch Colbert, do you?
I saw Erica Rhodes was on there, so I had to tune in.
She was on there. I don't have television, so I could not watch it, but I did see a clip this morning. She's very good, but I felt like, because I know her and I know her act and I know what she does, I felt like the weirdness of that compared to a comedy club, because it felt like the audience did not give her the same appreciation she would get in a comedy club. And that's the first time I've seen somebody I've known in advance do Colbert. I've had people on who've done those late night shows, but only after they've done those shows when I got to know them. This is the first time I've seen somebody do material that I knew I've seen her do before, and I love this material. But watching the audience react, it felt like that's not a comedy audience. It's got to be really difficult to do those late night shows because it's not a comedy club. It's a group of tourists coming out to experience being in a television show taping. They have an applause sign, a laugh sign, and all that stuff. And it feels like they're not. Some of them felt like they needed the joke to be explained to them. You know, it was like it was a weird paradigm shift for me seeing that. So I don't know.
Yeah, those shows seem to benefit from areas that don't quite have broadband access yet.
I've been at Letterman. I was at Letterman when Norm was on twice, and those were great. But Norm didn't do his stand-up when I saw him on Letterman. He went straight to the chair, not couch, on the Letterman stuff. So I didn't get to see that. But actually seeing somebody do stand-up in that environment, it just struck me as difficult. I mean, I don't know. I would be curious to ask her how she felt about the performance, because she was as good as she is. It's just the energy of the room did not feel like it was supporting her the way I've seen the energy. Definitely different than, even America's Got Talent. When she did that, the room, it was like a woo woo, like a Morton Downey or an Arsenio Hall crowd in that thing. In the Stephen Colbert thing, it was like kind of like, what do we do? Is this comedy? Are we supposed to laugh now? Are we supposed to applaud? I don't know what to do. Should I clap? Am I supposed to clap? Looking at each other, is it okay to laugh now? Yes, it's okay to laugh now. Okay. That was very weird. Anyway, I'm going to do news. We'll come back, and then we'll talk about death and dying. Are you ready to die?
Yeah.
North Korea sent another wave of trash-filled balloons into South Korea.
This time, some of the debris landed on the grounds of the South Korean presidential compound in Seoul and a nearby U.S. military base, seemingly disrupting operations. The office of President Yoon Suk-yeol stated it monitored the balloon's flight path in real time, accurately measured the landing location, then safely took action after it fell on the compound's grounds. Benjamin Wright reporting.
The gunman in the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump reportedly conducted a Google search 1 week before the incident, asking how far away was Oswald from Kennedy, according to FBI Director Christopher Wray.
This detail reveals a suspect with a keen interest in public figures, but no clear ideological motive. The July 6th online search found on a laptop linked to 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks references Lee Harvey Oswald, who assassinated President John F. Kennedy from a sniper's perch in Dallas on November 22, 1963. Lawrence Keller reporting.
Fires burning in California, Oregon, Arizona, Washington, and other western states, as well as in Canada, have filled skies in parts of the western U.S. with smoke and haze, prompting some areas to declare air quality alerts or advisories.
There were 79 large active wildfires across the country being managed that have burned over 1.4 million acres, according to the National Interagency Fire Center. Evacuation orders are in place for 15 fires in the Northwest, where fires continue to exhibit active to extreme behavior. Wade Addison reporting.
Police deployed pepper spray as demonstrations against Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Benjamin Netanyahu's address to Congress intensified in Washington, D.C.
Thousands of protesters gathered near the Capitol chanting, "Free, Free Palestine," with some attempting to block streets ahead of Netanyahu's speech. Police wearing gas masks prevented the crowd, calling for an end to the Gaza conflict that has resulted in over 39,000 Palestinian deaths, according to Gaza officials, from approaching the Capitol. Kevin Sanders reporting.
This is the latest news.
All right, get on with the music. I'm getting already bored with this dude. All right, Al.
18 people were killed when a plane crashed during takeoff in Nepal, aviation officials said.
19 people were on board when the Saurya Airlines flight crashed at Tribhuvan International Airport in Kathmandu, according to a notice from the Search and Rescue Coordination Center of the Civil Aviation Authority of Nepal, posted online by the airport. Jim Kender reported.
Shares of Tesla fell 12% in early trading after an earnings report showed declining profits amid rising competition and sluggish sales.
The earnings report did not meet Wall Street's profit expectations. There have been quite a few competing electric vehicles that have entered the market, and mostly they have not.
Oh, that Tesla just blew up. Did you see that? On one hand, anything bad that happens to Musk, I applaud. That's really petty of me. You really shouldn't be that way. I shouldn't be that way, but I'm happy. But the other part of that, it does affect the stock market and the economies, and I'm not happy about that. But you know what? Don't invest in Tesla. That's what I'm going to tell. Put your money someplace else. The plane crash, 19 people were on board, 18 people died. What was it? The pilot who lived? I mean,
maybe. Can you imagine the survivor's guilt though of like being the only
person
to survive on a plane crash?
Especially if you were the guy flying it and everybody died and you're the only one who lives. That's like the drunk driver surviving a crash. Like, wow, that's really that.
Have you ever seen that old? I think it's like 80s or early 90s movie called Fearless with Jeff Bridges, where he plays a guy who survives a plane crash along with some other people, and then he kind of like has this life experience, like he can do anything because him and these other people survive this plane crash. So he starts doing crazy shit. Then like I believe Rosie Perez is in it, and she's having like terrible survivor's guilt because she was holding her baby at the time of the crash. And
Wow.
there's a scene where they're together, and she's like, "Yeah, you know what? I can't get over this." So he buys a watermelon. They get in a car, and he sets it on her lap, and he goes, "Hold on," and they go and crash the car. He crashes the car. He's like, "Look, you could have never saved your baby. It's impossible.
Right.
You got to move on."
And also, can I have some of that watermelon?
Yeah.
It looks good. It looks right, but I know nothing like a good piece of car crashed watermelon to make your day a little brighter. GD is flying into a haze of smoke. Did you get that out of the news? The Northwest is the visibility is gone. The air quality is gone, and our boy GD, I can't say our boy, our man GD. Yeah, I would say our boy was white, but he's not white, so I can't say our boy. Our
I can
man.
still say that. That's hip and correct.
Yeah.
It feels weird saying it though, as a white guy.
Yeah.
That's my boy, dog. No, I ain't weird. That's my
Yeah,
boy.
I know.
Dog.
Yeah, that's how I feel. But it does sound weird, and it feels like I would probably get called out for. Oh, look at that! What a racist thing to say. It wasn't.
Well,
me.
That's my boy. No cap, fam.
A couple years ago, I was at this mic or show with this comic, and I was like talking to the producer, and he's like, "Oh yeah, man, that's your boy over there, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I guess." I mean, at this current state of where we're at, saying that now as a white guy, it just seems weird.
Yeah.
You gotta marry a brown chick, and then you'll be able to say it like I can.
Chanting in public, get out the pepper spray. I've never been pepper sprayed. I've been maced. I've been maced by cops. I think it was mace, but I don't know why they switched from mace to pepper spray. But and I'm not sure what the long term, like pepper spray, does it affect you for 24 hours, or is it 10 15 minutes? Because I think mace, basically you throw some water in your face, 10 15 minutes, you're fine. Have you guys ever been sprayed?
I have, but I don't know the difference between mace and pepper spray. All I know is I got sprayed in the face by this chick, and it sucked.
Yeah,
Were you trying to rape her?
No. No, so I was 14 and her mom got it for her, and she said, if anyone ever messes with you, and I was like, how effective is it really? And she was like, I don't know, let's try it. And I was like, okay. I had to go to the emergency room.
Willie used to tase himself to see what it felt like. You're on the same level with him right now.
No, here's the thing. Here's the difference, okay? I grew up during the jackass generation, okay? My generation, we took dares and we would do stupid stunts because we grew up watching that shit on TV. I didn't do it for some weird kink thing. Like, I just want to see what it feels like. No, we do it because we know it's going to hurt and suck, but it's going to be funny to do. Just shocking yourself isn't funny. Now, getting zapped by somebody else is funny.
All right. Ron, did you have something to add to the pepper spray thing?
No, I was just gonna say they're both bad. If you get sprayed,
yeah, I don't know if they're both. I don't know if either one's better than the other by any means. But
and I think
peaceful protesting and chanting is protected by the Constitution of the United States. They weren't breaking any laws. They might be saying stuff that you might find offensive or reprehensible or against your belief system. But I don't get where we've gotten to a point now. Trump asked to shoot peaceful protesters. People don't believe that, but Mark Esper, who was the Secretary of Defense, actually testified to that Trump asked him to authorize shooting peaceful protesters. That's a whole next level. But this is where we are in this country now, where we don't allow peaceful protests. That's a problem.
And hold on. We allow unpeaceful protests.
Right.
We just don't allow peaceful protests. Yeah, you can rampage a city, you can burn down buildings, you can steal, all that, but you cannot go out and scream with signs. How dare you?
Right. And did you? I don't know. We're getting into the political stuff here, but fuck it. Let's piss off Chavola.
We'll not butt fuck anything.
Right. Trump coming out talking about desecration of the flag. These people should be locked up. I know it's he said, I know it's constitutionally protective, but we need to put an end to it and lock these people up. Does he not see? I mean, look out in your crowd and see people making underwear out of the flag, people making hats and bras out of the flag. That's desecration.
That's just another one of his old bits that he keeps rehashing. It's like, dude, we've heard this. You want to come on the flag? Go ahead. Everyone else does. Move on with your life.
Right. But he doesn't understand that when he calls for that, he's calling for the lockup of his entire rally, basically. Let's lock up all the people who are supporting me. Yeah.
No, they're like 3D glasses that I found, like an old pair of 3D glasses.
I thought they were like different color. To get the 3D, you had to have like a red and blue.
Oh, that's old. That's old 3D. This is new 3D.
Yeah, this is new tech.
Well, no, the new tech is those VR things, right?
That's virtual reality, not 3D. It's different.
Well, the virtual reality is in 3D, isn't it?
Kind of.
Yes. Kind of.
It's.
How could it be virtually real if it's not 3D?
It's a 2D image in a 3-dimensional space. It's animation. Immersive animation.
Now you're making it more confusing. It is 3D. Just say yes.
Sure, it's 3D.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. Now the other thing is he's freaking out at Christopher Wray for saying that it might have been shrapnel. He still refuses, or we don't know if it was a bullet or shrapnel. Is with the statement. There's still some question as to whether it was.
Come out and say what it was. That put an end to it all.
He's refusing to let his own doctor, the doctors who examined him, but he's freaking out. If you watch Truth Social and his stuff, he's putting out these long, calling Ray like a Democratic. Remember, Trump nominated Christopher Wray. He's a lifelong Republican, and Trump, when he nominated him, said the guy's impeccable, incorruptible, all these things. All of a sudden, he's like, oh, he's a Democratic shill. And of course, there is no getting through. I'm wondering if this could be the one thing that penetrates the wall of Kool-Aid, is if it can be proven that he was not even hit by a bullet or shrapnel, because there's no blood on his hands. That whole thing that they're talking about when he's going like this, no blood on his hands. Again, remember that Hulk Hogan was a keynote speaker at this thing, and in wrestling, the appearance of fake blood is a routine thing. To go down my Alex Jones thing, and I'm not saying there's any evidence for this at all yet, but my feeling is, I really think, in my belief system, and there again, I have no evidence to back this up. This is not. I'm not saying this is supported by evidence. I'm saying this is my gut feeling. I think that this guy is low enough to say, let's get a kid to shoot at me to miss. He wasn't expecting people to die. He was staging the whole thing for a propaganda use thing. I don't think Donald Trump is above that. And knowing his background with professional wrestling and the type of injury it was, and how he reacts to when he's really being shot at, where he just runs off the stage covered by a Secret Service. He doesn't stand there. The whole thing feels staged and fake to me. And so if that were able to be proven, would that be the one thing that fucking finally breaks through the wall of Kool-Aid and says, wow, what a despicable character this guy is? Two people.
Probably his followers, like the real hardcores, they would probably stick by, but I don't know. There seems to be a lot of cracks in that foundation, and staged. I don't know. I mean, because where do you get someone to shoot at you, and especially like an 18-year-old kid? How do you set that up for him?
20, but okay. Same way we talked about it earlier in the week with Sarah Jane Moore and Patty Hearst. You can definitely, brainwashing or manipulation is definitely a thing that can be done. They talked Sarah Jane Moore into thinking she was starting a revolution, and she believed that. And if you can get somebody who is vulnerable, they talked Patty Hearst into being a terrorist, thinking she was a part of a revolution, and she was a kidnap victim. There are people who have vulnerable mindsets. Now, again, there is absolutely no, because he's saying, how much did they pay this kid to be? I don't think it has to do with money or any of this stuff. And I'm not saying there is any factual evidence for anybody else to believe this. I'm just saying this is my gut feeling about what the man is capable of. Knowing him, not knowing that he would do a stunt like that. He's definitely capable of a stunt like that, and not expecting people to die, and just whatever. I think he is. That's definitely not beyond how low he would stoop. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know if it was. I don't necessarily agree that it was staged, but I do feel like I'm
not saying that it was staged. I'm saying I don't think that's that's below what he would do. And there is, if you know the man, you definitely know he's capable of that. But again, I said there's no evidence. There's no evidence to point to that, to say that it's a factual thing. But if you think he's not capable of it, you haven't been paying attention. He's definitely capable of that. And the fact that it could be done. without paying the kid, or just convincing the kid that this was a right thing to do. His ticket to infamy, because they've done that before.
Yeah, I think they're just disappointed because they haven't been able to ride this out like they have been. Like I think it just happened, and unfortunately for them, nothing fits their narrative. It's just another fucking young white kid firing at people. And if you really pay close attention, what's the one thing you're not hearing about? Another white guy popping off shots into a crowd. Essentially, he could have did a mass shooting. And but you're not hearing anything about that. I guess the NRA, has their dicks in their mouths again.
Yeah.
So
yeah. But Trump could put an end to all that by having that doctor come out and say it was a bullet or a shrapnel or whatever, or just admitting it was shrapnel. That takes away from his propaganda stuff. If it was just shrapnel, it takes away from this whole thing that God just saved him by a miracle. Like the bullet wasn't even close to him. It was a piece of shrapnel. That changes his narrative completely. He can't say, well, I took a bullet for democracy. All he can say is, I got hit by a piece of shrapnel. The guy missed me by 10 feet. It hit like a bleacher or something, and I got hit with. But he refuses to do that. Instead, he's putting out fake doctors to say it was a bullet. That leads to far more suspicion. Again, he could put an end to it today, right now, in this moment. And I would challenge his supporters to make him do that. If you believe that he was hit by a bullet, pressure him to have his real doctor, the guy who actually treated him, to say that and put an end to it. There was still a bullet involved either way. Yeah, but he didn't take a bullet. And for him, because he's saying the bullet took off a chunk of his ear, that is part of his propaganda system. That's part of the messaging he's putting out. And that plays a lot better to people. And that's probably why he's not letting the doctor talk. It plays a lot better to say, I took a bullet for democracy. Yeah, there was a bullet involved, and the guy died, and he couldn't even spell the guy's name right.
Yeah. He's got a bigger problem is that, this happened, and but since he's a terrible person, I think most people are like, yeah.
Evil says splitting hairs. If that's true, if it's just splitting ear hairs over here. If that's true, why not just come out and say, well, it was? He definitely wants the bullet story out there rather than the shrapnel story or whatever the real truth is. He wants that bullet story out there, which is why he's not letting his doctor come out and make that statement. And he's having fake doctors come out and say, yeah, it was a bullet. It took over a chunk of his ear.
That's why he's only told that story once. He's got to keep the lies straight.
Right.
Because this isn't typical him, because you think he'd be out there more like, I got to tell this story again, then, eventually adding stuff. And I just think the story doesn't have it. He was just shot at by another lonely white kid doing a shooting.
Yeah, well,
and they're so disappointed that it wasn't an immigrant or anybody like that, or politically motivated. He was just fucking crazy.
Did you listen to Ray's testimony?
No.
Before Congress, he got 8 shots, according to Ray. 8 fucking shots. 8. We thought it was 3, 4. 8 shots is a lot of fucking shots. He must have been a terrible shot, or he wasn't trying to hit him. But
either
way.
If that would have been somebody that would have been a better shot, that would have been a lot uglier.
Yeah.
And maybe not Trump, but maybe some people in that crowd more than what it is. But then there's some stuff about the firefighters' tweets and things that have been surfaced. Have you heard about that?
Oh no, please inform me.
Yeah, well, apparently, this is what I heard. We were talking about this earlier in the week, but apparently, tweets from that firefighter have resurfaced, and they're not good.
Like, in what way?
Like very politically motivated. Like, this person should probably die. Like, putting up polls between Who are you going to save? Barack Obama, Nancy Pelosi, or like someone else and shit like that?
Wow. I got to look that stuff up. Now, do you take, because I don't see any significance of this. Yeah, the kid was searching for how far Lee Harvey Oswald was from Kennedy. Does that matter at all that he was doing internet searches? I mean, about a
No, I
previous
mean,
assassination?
it would make sense. I mean, if you're going to commit something like that, you might want to who did this in the past?
Carl saying it sounds like the Napo tweets. I've never tweeted that people should die. Never. I mean, nobody in political office. I probably, if you look through some of my Facebook chat or even probably some of my Twitter stuff, at some point I might have said I should die, but or I might have said something about a comedian or musician, but never about a politician or somebody who's an official. He'll be on to correct. Correct what? That I have said that. What you have? I said that you should die, or maybe GD. I think I say that daily, and I don't wish that today. By the way, he's in the air in a place where it might actually be a possibility, but that's all in joke. I don't know if you got evidence that I've said somebody should just die. Why wouldn't they just ban me then from the social media? But if you find it, I'll own up to it. But I think I would only say that in jest, not actually threatening to assassinate somebody. Anyway, we were talking earlier about ways to die, and this is because the one way I really dread is a slow death. I mean, Flip Wilson used to have a bit about this. Like, it would be good to die a slow death, like a disease death. You get to stay in the hospital, eat peanuts and watch television and all that stuff. Stephen talked about getting shot in the head and, just instantaneous. I would like an instantaneous death if there could be one that doesn't hurt. There's nothing I can think of that is painless. An easy way out. And again, I was saying the two extremes, like being born and dying. You talk about enjoying the suffering. Those are the worst sufferings that you get. In between, kind of the comfort zone. Even though it feels like you're on the roller coaster, and there's lots of thrills, ups and downs and stuff, nothing is as bad as those traumatic last moments. And my mom hospiced here. And she had been saying for 20 years that she was ready to die. But in the last moment, she was like, why aren't the doctors doing anything? I think, the fear of passing over is a real thing. And no matter how faithful you are or not, that unknown that lies beyond that is what makes. And I had one of my best friends, when he died, I looked up to him because he was never afraid of anything. But when he was on his deathbed, he said to his wife, and I was standing right next to him, he said, I'm scared. She said, scared of what? He said, dying. And I was like, that fucked me up. Like, this is Leo. He's not afraid of anything. Now I got to continue living with that fear. Oh shit, he's afraid of dying. If he's afraid of dying, what does that leave me? Because I am the biggest pussy in the world when it comes to that thing. I'm not afraid of being dead. I'm afraid of that moment of death. So, do you think about these things? Or, you just fucking let it.
I've been in the hospital several times being told that I, might not make it through the week. So, yeah, it's terrifying to think about, I guess. But I mean, the thought of being dead itself doesn't scare me. The dying part, like you said, is what kind of freaks me out.
I think it's almost. I almost feel. I guess it feels like when you're put under for a procedure, because all of a sudden, they'll tell you count backwards from 5, and you'll be like 5, 4. Then you get to 3. Then it just goes black. Then you wake
that's
up.
what it's like. I'm cool.
When you put it in those terms, I'm almost look forward to it because I love anesthesia. But I recall the very first time, the time I had my dick drilled when I was 9 years old. They were doing that to me. They put the mask on my face, and I didn't know what that was all. Nobody prepared me for that. They put the mask on your face and you breathe, and I'm like choking. I'm refusing to breathe, and I'm like, oh, I can't breathe. But I didn't realize I was supposed to be breathing that bad shit. But that was a weird thing. But I love anesthesia. I hate waking up. And it is truth serum for me because I have been told by people who picked me up after I had like oral surgery, after I'd been completely out of things I said, and I was like, "Damn, man, I don't ever want anybody to get a hold of me who wants to get the truth out of me to give me that shit because I will confess my deepest, darkest sins to anybody after coming out in that moment. But if that's what death is like, I'm all for it. I mean, I love that fucking anesthesia. I could see how Michael Jackson got addicted to it.
Oh yeah, dude. It's one of it's in fact, if you're having a serious enough surgery, they'll give you some meds before they take you in. And those feel pretty good too. Not gonna lie. That whole setup is pretty nice. Just when you wake up after the surgery, you're like, fuck, this sucks.
You know who's about to experience death? Harvey Weinstein.
Good.
Probably. He's in prison with pneumonia and COVID at the same time. So, and he's old and fat. So I can't imagine him surviving that in prison. Speaking of dying, we're about to have death visit us. Are you ready for the Grim Reaper?
Death with a fun accent.
Hello, Chinese and black people.
What's in the bag? Beer? Is it beer? Oh, it's a hat. No, what the fuck is that?
Ooh, you got my attention.
A MAGA hat.
But let's see what I've got. Yeah, I need to get a MAGA hat actually. Let's see what.
Why don't you get a MABA hat? Make Britain.
Motherfucking party shades, because I always feel bad, and I needed to buy however many pairs I brought. 8
All right,
pairs.
Stephen, do a follow-up to iBoss. He got sunglasses before we did. How is that fucking
shit?
How is that right?
Would you like me to send some party shades to the Mind Dog Studio?
We're supposed to be getting our own designer glasses, whatever. Now I sent you guys. We had another product endorsement proposal. Did you guys look at any of that stuff? GD said he didn't see anything that in his size.
I did, but it seemed a little fishy with the type of items they were.
Yeah,
like a desk, air fryer. Like what?
You don't want an air fryer?
I have an air fryer, but it seemed a little funky.
Like in what way? You think it's a scam?
Yeah.
If they're going to send you the products, like we got our eyeglasses, if they're going to say, how is that? How would it be a scam? That's what I don't see any way that it could end up. They weren't asking us to buy the stuff.
I don't know. I mean, I guess I'll take a desk, but we'll see what happens.
Take a desk. Well, that's what. If you're free to respond to them and say, yeah, we want some of this. Send us a desk, and we'll promote it.
Matt Napo would never endorse a scam. Never.
What does that have?
He looks vaguely American. You'll think you're from Michigan.
Chapter. Yeah, I deliberately ordered an AIDS trucker cap. Chapter. Maybe it's like a clan chapter. I don't know, but I'm wearing it.
Carl, are you planning for your retirement?
I mean, I'm hoping I suddenly become rich at some point. Otherwise, no.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just going to die poor and old.
All right. Well, what's wrong with that? Is there something wrong with dying poor and old?
No, you can't take the money with you. So actually, everyone dies broke.
I absolutely agree, and I don't believe in inheritance. I think help your kids out a bit, but they shouldn't be getting a windfall when you die. Fuck those kids, man.
Well, Matt Napa was on his deathbed in a local area nursing home, and whoa, wait, what is this? Well, I'm sorry, I got distracted by. Wow, I just got. Oh, that's nice. I'm excited now. I'm a little wet. I can't talk about it on the air, but I'm a little wet. Are you excited about? Are you excited for me?
I would be if I knew what was making you wet, and I'm
No,
concerned.
you
that
don't
you're
have to
wet.
know. Just know that I'm excited. But Matt Napo is dying broken poor, and apparently I'm the only relative that Matt Napo has, and he looks like me.
Yeah, but you've got 3 beautiful sons and the black one, but he's not here today. We can talk about that. He can have like 2%. Okay, he's at the back, and your white sons, your beautiful, lovely white sons, get 20% each.
I'm like Ron. I don't have any white friends.
No, just 3 beautiful white sons.
Well, I'm not white though.
Wow.
Yeah, he's
Puerto
brown.
Rican.
He's the brown.
Okay.
Even though he looks marshmallow white.
Yeah, that was a surprise. That's like Louis C.K. being Mexican, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
Yeah.
Hey, Tom Segura says he's Hispanic too, and I don't believe that either.
Half
So
Peruvian, right?
I don't.
Now, Tom Segura doesn't say he's Mexican. He says he's Spanish, right? Am I wrong? I don't know.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. He's
Peruvian.
like,
His mother is
Peruvian.
Peruvian, yeah.
Carl, you're a Peruvian guy. You've been to Peru.
I have been to Peru, yeah.
Yeah. Are they Hispanic there? Because I always thought they were like Portuguese.
All of South America is Spanish, apart from Brazil, which is Portuguese. I think everywhere else speaks a version of Spanish, but they all have the different type of Spanish. But it's
Because I knew Brazil was Portuguese, but I also thought Peru was Portuguese for some reason.
Fala muito bom português.
You speak fluent Portuguese?
Onde é sua buceta? Where is the pussy? Yes.
Oh. Now, did you study that in school before you went?
No, I would say I'm semi-fluent. I've been learning for like 7 or 8 years since I started going there, and I've got friends there, so I text in Portuguese.
While having sex with a hot Peruvian Brazilian girl. Brazilian girl. She's teaching you Rosetta Stone while fucking you?
You basically, yeah. And I use Duolingo every day because I'm mental.
See, I think they should do that in high school. If you had a hot high school teacher fucking you.
I learned a bit of French and a bit of Spanish, a bit of German at school, but I fucking hated it. And I just wasn't good at learning like that. But I think everyone should learn a little bit of a second language, even basics,
See, when I was young, I thought German girls were really hot, but I can't imagine being fucking a girl and she's like,
yeah, because they always sound
you ain't
aggressive.
doing it right then. Let me tell you what, man.
When you see Hitler's speech translated to English, it's like, oh, I would have voted for him. He sounds
Steven
good.
says, no, that means you're not doing it right. It could mean you're doing it right. You don't know. That language sounds angry.
It's aggressive.
It does. Even it sounds angry the whole time.
They could say happy birthday. It's like,
on the flip side, though, when you're with a Hispanic lady and she starts screaming in Spanish, she could be saying "get off my hair," but it just sounds so sexy. You just keep going. So,
wait, you get on top?
Sometimes, yeah.
He pulls the belly.
Dude, my legs don't work. My hips are fine.
Mix into a waffle iron.
So all right.
Yeah, my hips work fine, man.
It's not like I spend a whole lot of time thinking about you having sex, but I just assume that you were about.
Everybody assumes I just lay there, but dude, you don't score a hot Puerto Rican wife by just laying there.
So you got the thrust working?
Oh yeah,
the hip thrust working.
Oh yeah, a little bit.
I can't really be bothered. I can't really be bothered with it. I'm like, I don't know, just do something to me.
How can you have the thrust working when your back is broken? I don't
understand. At the top of
my
back, so everything works. Everything works. It's just like my legs work. I just can't move them very well.
Ron, do you think he's really faking it? You agree with me? He's faking this whole thing, right?
Yeah, something sounds off.
Yeah, so it's like a Trump story.
Listen, if you subscribe to my OnlyFans, you can get an example of how I do it.
Do strangers come up to you on the street with tears in their eyes and say, "Sir, we love you so much. We thank you so much for your hip thrust"?
No, but I do get a lot of the "can I pray for you," and it just pisses me off to no end.
No, that's what did this. God did this to me. Stop.
Well, that's the thing.
Take
I'm
away
like,
my
listen,
arms.
I was like, God gave me this from the get go. I don't think praying's gonna change his mind now.
He would have taken my arms if he wasn't busy giving AIDS to babies.
Yeah, the only reason I know he doesn't have my sense of humor is he didn't take my arms and then give me a really big dick. Like that's how
I know. He did give you a Puerto Rico hat.
He gave me a Puerto Rico hat, a hot Puerto Rican wife, and hips that still thrust. It's a good day.
Woo!
Now, did you buy that hat online?
Actually, no, my in-laws bought it for me in Puerto Rico.
You know what happened to my? You know why I got this? Because Tom Konopka gave me a Bisbee hat when I was in Bisbee, and I loved that hat. And I took it to Brazil, and I lent it to a Brazilian, and she went in the fucking sea, came back without the hat. And I was like, "Where's the hat, bitch? It floated to sea."
Do you still communicate with Tom Konopka?
He's.
I'm
here
just
and there.
wondering.
He's
He
not
was
very
he
social,
was
is he?
like my best friend online for a while. He communicated with me private. I haven't heard from him in over a year. I'm like,
Yeah,
what?
no,
what did I-
he's. I messaged him on New Year, probably drunk, and or Christmas or something like that. He messages back, but he's kind of takes time off the internet. I think he hasn't spoken. I don't think
I
he's
was
even
I was
tweeted much.
thinking it was me. I did something to hurt him.
No,
or
no, I don't think so.
He was my
Very
biggest supporter ever.
Me,
and
me
then
too. Very early on, he was very good to me. But he's really nice in person. And obviously, he took me on a 6-hour hike around Bisbee.
Are you
No
still
water.
keeping it under wraps, or are you performing in Bisbee this year?
That this is being herded, so there's no confirmation. So I don't know when it will be. September's the.
I thought the 14th because I've been invited down and I have a gig that day.
Well, if that was the same weekend as last year, so that might make sense.
Yeah.
But I spoke to Billy Wade, and he said he's trying to herd the drunk cats, basically. So I'm going away the week before. So I'm gonna if I find out like the last minute, I'll come to the States. But I might come via New York.
Come by here.
Because the time zone fucked me up last time, going straight to LA and Arizona, and I was there and back in like 6
you were all
days.
jelly headed by the time you got on stage, and then the Irish guy started yelling, your mother's a cunt."
I don't really smoke weed, because I was with Billy Wayne Davis. I was smoking weed all day and drinking weed drinks and edibles and alcohol as well. So that might have had something to do with it as well.
Gotta say, I've never had a weed drink. You're ahead of me in the weed drink.
You've never had a weed drink?
So
really?
Billy Wayne Davis went in a store in Tucson and they gave it to him for free. And then we got in because we were going around the boneyard with the planes, and he tossed it at me as a prickle pear and lime or something. 20 milligrams. And I didn't realize at first. I drank half of it. I was like, shit, I'm probably going to get high from this. But the whole day it was just wrapped my brain in a little blanket. It's great.
Yeah, I had
let me finish this statement, please. Stanhope seems to have found out how to work YouTube or something. He's doing a lot of.
But he's got a new like tech guy, I think. So he's probably trying to push him to do. He did the premiere right for the sketch the other day.
Yeah, and a couple of things I saw last night that were
Twitter Live was hilarious with him and Bingo. They were so fucking drunk. It must have been like 3 a.m. And he's not up there late that often.
All right, back to the chairman of the board.
Sorry,
and when I say chairman of the board, it's spelled BORED. Go ahead, Steven.
I was just gonna say, if you ever had a weed drink, man, there's some killer ones out there. I went to my buddy went to Michigan and picked up a grape soda. It's THC infused.
Oh my god, I love grape soda. Come on.
And we each drank half of it, and we sat out there for about 4.5 hours fishing, but we never took our hooks back out of the water.
No need.
I'm gonna look it up. I'm going to look it up right now. I don't know if I can. I've never even seen weed drinks at the dispensary here.
Let me find a picture here.
Strange Stars, New York. Hold on. Strange Stars, New York. I'm not that they're a sponsor or anything. This is my
Tucson, Arizona.
my dispensary that I have used. Strange. There's also the cannabis, but Strange Stars, New York. Yes, I'm over 21. Edibles. There's no thing that says drinks.
Cannabis beverage company, High Tide prickle pear lime. That was it's 10. Is it 10?
Yeah, there's nothing on here that is drinks. It's all like chewables, edibles, gummies, chocolate bars. I don't see.
You can probably get some shipped to New York, right?
You would think. I don't want that THCA stuff though.
This was THC.
I smoked the THCA stuff and it feels chemically. It tastes chemical.
Well, is it synthetic, isn't it? Oh.
Yeah.
This is THC seltzer. So this was a real one, and I had one of Cat's edibles, and then a shit ton of everybody's weed. So it was a good day.
Yeah, no, I'm going page after page, not seeing anything drink here. That's interesting. I think I would like to try that. I'd have to be careful because I have a tendency to make a mistake and overdo it.
It's the same as any other seltzer. You've got to be careful because I don't drink seltzers. I tried one once. They're too nice and they don't taste like alcohol, right? So I had like a raspberry. It's just like water. I could drink 40 of them. So I was like, I can never do it again because I'll just do that.
Ian says he hates the dick drilling story. I didn't tell the story, but I guess if you've never, I don't know, if you have a empathetic imagination, just saying dick drilling would kind of cause some kind of a reaction in you. Listen, I was 9 years old. I wasn't using my dick for anything other than pissing at the time, but it did hurt like hell when I had to piss. The upside of that story with the dick drilling thing is they gave me medicine that would cleanse my kidneys, but the medicine would make me piss red, like a stream of red. It looked like blood. And I had some left over when I was in high school, and some kid was asking me for downers or uppers or something, and I gave him the dick cleansing, make you pee red stuff. And like 4 hours later, I was in class, and I heard him in the men's room, boys' room, down the hall scream, "Napa!" when the stream of red piss came out his dick. So. Sorry, Ian. I brought it back up again in a dick drilling story. Anyway, if you've never had your dick drilled, don't. And that's all I'm saying. Just don't. So it is Friday afternoon. You guys gigging this weekend?
Yeah.
Nope.
You're shaking your head. Nope. You got nothing? What happened? All your Kansas City connections dried up. Your foreign connections, your Puerto Rican connections. What happened?
No, I have
You looking at your dick right now?